Hello, my name is Gian Douglas, and I'm going to be telling you about why I chose swimming as a sport. When I was about 4 years old, I was playing soccer. I didn't really like it.
When you were playing soccer, what were you usually doing on the field? You were mostly a midfielder. You took all the free kicks for the team because you were able to kick the ball further than all your teammates. You also did a lot of hard tackles, so you were laying people out when you were tackling them. You were tackling them a little too hard.
Moved on to playing basketball. I played for my middle school, St. Michael's Academy. I remember liking the sport, but there just wasn't that competitive energy that I wanted. I continued playing for about 2 to 3 years, but then I got tired of it.
Could I tell you weren't interested in basketball at the time? No, I actually had no idea you weren't interested in basketball. I thought you were very fundamentally sound.
Part of me didn't want to quit because I did like the sport, but I just wasn't feeling a passion towards it. So then I quit, and I was wondering what I should do next. By the time I quit, I was like 7 or 8, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I had asked my mom if I could play football. The first thing that she said was absolutely not. So obviously I felt pretty limited with what I could choose. But by this time it was around summer. So I started doing a summer camp. It was called Stony Brook Anchors. They're connected with the YMCA, so there was a lot of swimming involved. I remember being in the pool was always the highlight of my day. The coaches knew me, they loved me. Whenever we would have our first day training, I was always in the highest level. The lifeguards started telling my parents to start getting me involved with the YMCA, like actually start swimming and taking professional lessons so I could learn way more. So my parents did sign me up. By this time, school had started back up already, so after school, I would just go take lessons. And every day, I was always learning something new, and it was fun for me. I remember being ahead of whatever group I was a part of, and that the coaches and lifeguards were saying, like, I'm way more advanced than they thought. It got to a point where I was so much more advanced than everyone that they started suggesting that I do a park and rec team rather than to just stay at the Y and basically like not advance or not learn anything more.
How did I feel when the swimming instructors told me to sign you up for park and rec swimming? I was very excited. I was happy to hear that. We already had you signed up for park and rec, and the coach told me that you were a very quick learner in swimming. He said a lot of kids that he's instructed did not learn the strokes as fast as you did. He said as soon as he explained the stroke to you, you just did it right away. So he knew that you had potential to be a very good swimmer.
Every Friday after school, we would get this little red folder. It would just hold information like how we did during the week and like any other special events that may be happening locally. And this one day, there was a pamphlet in it. It had information for a park and rec team in Springfield. The team was called the Springfield Sharks. I showed my parents as soon as I saw it, and they signed me up right away. I remember the first day of practice, I was extremely excited. This excitement was different. It was completely different compared to soccer, and it was way higher than how I felt when I was playing basketball. It really felt different. I started to feel a spark. I started to feel that passion that I had never felt before with the other sports. Although I was excited, I was still a little bit nervous because this is a new environment for me. I don't know anyone, and I need to figure out and learn like how to adapt and how to get along with everyone else.
What were you like when I first met you? So I don't remember what year it was. I have a really hard time remembering years, but I do remember I don't remember the specific first day, but when you first joined Sharks, very clear memory that you had a strong skill set. Specifically, your freestyle was very strong. You already knew backstroke.
After our first couple weeks of practices, we had our meets coming up, so we had to prepare. And since some of us, including myself, had never raced before, they needed to time us to see where we were at. So I was put into each individual event, and I was getting first place. I was getting really fast times, and after that, everyone started to notice me. That's when I started to make friends. That's when people started to talk to me.
I remember other people also noticing you and like people asking me about you from like parents who were already experienced, who had experienced swimmers were like, oh, where'd this kid come from? Because they saw how good you were how quickly you were jumped into it and were good.
After our first couple of practices, Coach Teresa invited over another coach. His name was Corey Lomez, Coach Corey. He was a club coach swimmer, which is like an advanced level of park and rec. He was training sharks for a day, and I remember that practice being the toughest practice I've ever had. I was barely making the time intervals, and I was getting passed by everybody in my lane. I went from being the person leading the lane to being in last the whole time. Coach Corey took me out the pool for a second just to talk to me and let me have a breather. He was just giving me words of motivation and encouragement, and I was able to make it through practice that day. And eventually after, I kept on achieving more goals. I was succeeding, and I just kept on improving. And Coach Teresa ended up telling me, like, you need to move on and be with Coach Corey, be with his team. His team was called PVAA. The name stood for Pioneer Valley Aquatic Adventures. Coach Corey's mindset was that we needed to avenge the death of swimming. Coach Teresa actually came to my first practice with PVAA. It was a tough practice, but I was able to manage to make it through. But I had to transfer over to a new team called Bluefish Swim Club. It's a nationals team. I'm still chasing my goals. I'm still getting better every day. I'm grateful for everything.